Now, what do people want? They want an advanced OS that runs Mac apps, right? Is that what you want? That's what people want. Now, what does a modern OS mean? It means things like protected memory. It means things like a modern virtual memory system and preemptive multitasking and multi-threading, et cetera, et cetera. So we wanted to marry those two things together and not ask everybody to rewrite their apps completely to take advantage of this. And that's what we set out to do. We set out to think different. Or, to borrow a tagline from one of the other logos you saw, we set out to just do it. And that's what we've done. And it is my great pleasure today to announce our strategy for Mac OS X. It is a big leap in the Mac OS roadmap, and yet it is also the best of evolutionary. It takes the Mac OS into new territory, into the biggest leap it's had since it was first introduced in 1984. And yet it's going to bring all of us and our apps along with it. Now, Mac OS X has two parents. One of them is System 8. And that's not just System 8 as we know it today, but it's as it's going to be enhanced. And Rhapsody. Again, a lot of the technology in Rhapsody was right on. It just didn't go far enough. And we figured out how to do this with that technology. Now, how did we do that? What did we do? Let me tell you. There's never any lunch that's totally free, but this one is free except for the little cherry on the ice cream at the end. Let me take you through it. The Macintosh system has been being developed for 15 years or more, and there are over 8,000 function calls, over 8,000 APIs in the system. We went through these with a fine-tooth comb because some of them were preventing us from building in those advanced features. And what we found was, literally, after 15 years, there was a lot of barnacles and cruft in there. About 2,000 of those APIs are bad news. And so we decided to have the courage to get rid of them. And we're doing exactly that in Mac OS X. We are renaming the clean 6,000 APIs, plus a few new ones we have added to allow you to implement some of the functionality we're taking away with the bad APIs. We've named that API set for Mac OS X Carbon. All life forms will be based on it. Right? Now, when you run an app, a typical existing Mac app today against Carbon, most Mac apps use about 1,000 APIs plus or minus a few hundred. And we have looked at over 100 Mac apps in detail. And what happens is that most of the API calls that these apps do are supported in Carbon, but a few aren't. We've looked at over 100 apps. We've built some special diagnostic tools. We call them the Carbon daters. And they look at these apps and they profile them extensively as to what is supported in Carbon. Let's take a look. Here's some publishing apps. Adobe Acrobat, over 90% of the APIs are supported in Carbon. Illustrator 89, Photoshop 89, Director 6, 93, Freehand 92, Quark Express 88. Here's some other ones. Office 98, 80%, 87%, Internet Explorer 93, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? They are all mostly supported in Carbon. As a matter of fact, the average of those 100 apps we looked at was 90% of the APIs. So what does this mean? What this means is that to take advantage of this modern OS, it's only going to require a small tune-up of these apps, not a rewrite. And the tune-up will simply take care of those 10% of the APIs that do not fall within Carbon to get the app to fall 100% within Carbon. And, big news, Carbon is going to run on OS 8. we are going to be providing the libraries for OS 8 with the new APIs so that when you tune up an application for Carbon, you can make a version for OS 10 and a version for OS 8 off the same exact source code. So the next time you're revving your app for System 8, you can make it Carbon compatible, run it and release it on 8, and be ready for OS 10 when it comes along shortly. So what does the tune-up look like? The tune-up, the goals we're shooting for, and they are absolutely going to happen, we believe. Bring-up is 1 to 5 days. You'll hear more about that in a few minutes. 1 to 5 days to bring up your app in Carbon. Because you've got to SQA the app, let's be realistic. It's about 1 to 2 months to make it ready to ship. Except if you're already doing an upgrade to your app anyway, this time will be much shorter as an incremental amount of time. Compare that to the strategy of a year ago, where to get these features you had to rewrite your app. Okay? This is where we're going. 1 to 2 month tune-up, and even less if you're in the process of upgrading your app. A lot of it depends on where your app is. What APIs does it take advantage of? How clean are you already?